Hey everybody, Dr. LeGrant here, and today we are going to be talking about how to really eliminate ADHD symptoms naturally. It's a question I get asked a lot, and the best way I can explain this to you is frankly like what goes through my head when I am working with someone who wants to get their ADHD treated more naturally versus just going the medication route. And so I'm going to share an example of a patient of mine not too long ago, an adult male, in his mid 30s. And he was dealing with a lot of just the common ADHD symptoms he experienced with, focus and attentive, not being productive. And he was trying to run a business and it was really kind of just difficult and being all over the place. But what's also not acknowledged when it comes to actually treating ADHD more naturally is all the other health concerns that come along with it. And so he was also experiencing high blood pressure. And this can really cause a lot more than just your cardiovascular issues, but also can impact really your energy and impact just your mood. It can impact even your focus in some ways. And on top of that, he had severe digestive issues. He was actually dealing with a lot of IBS, and something that I emphasize so much the importance about gut health, because the gut is like a second brain. And if that is not working optimally and well, that will impact your ADHD and a lot of the ADHD symptoms that you are experiencing on a daily basis. So what I did when, he came in, we had to look at first doing investigation before you decide to try to really figure out, okay, how am I going to make actually the natural way work for me? And the best thing is you got to do some further investigation. And so by tackling this, first, I wanted to look at, of course, the gut situation. What's going on in the gut here? And so something that I will typically look at, sometimes when we do have someone that comes in that also has things such as like irritable bowel syndrome, just a lot of gut pain, we'll want to like test the gut flora. And that is really important to look at because there could be a lot of imbalances going on here. And when we tested this for him, he certainly had a lot of imbalances of his gut flora, a lot. And when we see this, we always want to make sure that we're balancing with good gut flora. And so, frankly, what I want to do is supplement different probiotics that are specific to help improve a lot of the good gut flora and kind of really get rid of a lot of the bad gut flora that can be contributing to this. Because 90 to actually 95% of our neurotransmitters are actually made in the gut. People don't realize this of how important the gut can be of really helping feeding the body, but also feeding the rest of the brain and also with our brain chemistry. So that's something as well. And then on top of that, I want to test things such as like a stomach acidity. This is something that's really important to look at because if your stomach acids are too high or too low, then you're not breaking down the proper nutrients, and then it's causing a lot more digestive issues, which then, of course, is going to feed your brain and can cause a lot of the similar ADHD symptoms. And so, basically, a good way to do this is just testing basically for imbalances with the stomach acidity. Is you can just see if they're high or low. In his case, his levels were actually 8.0 pH levels from his urine pH, which, I like to see this between 6.0 to 6.4. So when it's above the 6.0 range, 6.4 range, this is considered more alkaline. So he definitely is high alkaline. So his stomach acidity was definitely very low. So no wonder he was dealing with a lot of gut pain and just digestive complaints, irritable bowel syndrome, because he wasn't able to break down his foods properly because his stomach acidity levels were not high enough. And so typically what I'll do here is add something like betaine HCl, something also like pepsin, and gentian root, all those things. Betaine HCl is really great because this will help with increased stomach acidity, but also will help with also digestive enzymes that help with inflammation that are going on there. And then the other thing we all got to do is, supplements are great. They're great to use for temporary purposes, but the ultimate goal is really if you want it to really last long and have long lasting results is you got to start using food as your medicine. So in this case, for him, what was important is actually incorporating more bitter sour foods into his diet. So things such as like apple cider vinegar, grapefruit, 100% cranberry juice, a lot of other bitter types of vegetables as well, were really important to implement because what this does, not only does it stimulate a lot of digestive enzymes, but it also helps increase a lot of the gut bacteria. Even on things like kimchi, kombucha, all these things are really great things to be able to implement instead of having to always rely on supplements. Supplements are great to use temporarily to get your biochemistry back to balance so the body can start healing itself. But then you need to start transitioning and improving your diet and your lifestyle in order to make it a long impacting last long. Okay. Then it was important to look at his blood pressures, right? So remember, he had high blood pressures. And so this also can impact his ADHD symptoms significantly. And using this case, I will test for electrolytes and also hydration. So with electrolytes, also, with his case, his sodium levels, not exceeding, but in my opinion, like these are higher than I would like to see, especially if you have high blood pressure. You want to make sure your sodium levels are a very good, adequate amount. It's not where it's too high. So when I see this, we definitely need to use things to be able to clean up the diet, but also hydration. So hydration is a big one with people with high blood pressure. They maybe are not getting enough water intake, especially if your urine quality is more dark. You're probably not getting enough water in your diet, and so therefore you need to increase that. Now, his potassium levels were just fine, but other things that were really low on his electrolytes were manganese, were definitely low. Magnesium wasn't too bad, but these are definitely two different electrolytes that are also important. So, usually we typically will supplement it, but over time, we do want to use food as a base in medicine and other things. So, one of the most powerful things that you do with actually reducing and really getting rid of high blood pressure is intermittent fasting. There's a lot of research that backs this, and I've used this technique with a lot of my patients and clients and have successfully gotten to a point where their blood pressure levels are finally normal and they actually don't have to rely on the blood pressure medications. The other big thing is really leafy greens, vegetables, because remember, when you are deficient, and he was deficient in other also minerals, these were just some few that were pointed out that I want to point out here, is that you want to use things like leafy greens that have a lot of these vitamins and minerals that are going to help improve these levels. And so, but also it's the fiber that also really cleans up your diet. It's a good detoxifying process. So when someone's dealing with high blood pressure, it's because they need more detoxifying foods, and that's going to be high amounts of vegetable intake, leafy greens. Okay. Now, another thing that we need to test for, because I didn't mention this before, but he did mention, he was dealing with definitely a lot of burnout, especially in the middle of the day. His energy would web and flow, but he felt like he wasn't getting quite enough energy. And so we did test his cortisol levels. And sure enough, his cortisol levels were just shot, completely plummeted. And no wonder he didn't have good amounts of energy, because he didn't have the cortisol. And so a lot of people think, like, wasn't cortisol bad? No, you want a good balance of cortisol. You want a cortisol that's going in the green zone the entire time. It starts out really high, and the very first in the morning gets up, and then it kind of tapers off throughout the day. And by nighttime, it's at the lowest, because that's when we should get ready to go to sleep. So in this case, I added things like adrenal desiccated, and he definitely saw a big difference within his energy, just a night and day difference within just a week. He felt like, wow, I can actually be more focused now. I feel like I have more energy because of just supporting his adrenals. Now, in the long term, with not having to rely so much on adrenals, a lot of the times this has to do with a lot of just external factors that could be sabotaging, your cortisol levels. And so this can be a lot of things happening at work, relationships. And so the more you work on that, the more you'll find you don't have to rely on something like adrenal support. And then the other thing is also testing a lot of other micronutrients, like I mentioned. And some of the big ones was his B vitamin levels were low, his vitamin C, and then also his vitamin D levels were low. So, initially, yes, I supplemented each one of those with the B complex, obviously vitamin C, and then vitamin D. Usually when I see someone this low, I will add about 10,000 IUs initially for like about 3 months. And then I'll usually go to a maintenance dose of 5,000 IUs after that. But that's what I did with him. And then the last thing that I think was important, because obviously we still want to address more of the focus and inattentive issues, stuff that are happening with ADHD, is testing for neurotransmitters and also his amino acids that actually build those specific types of neurotransmitters. And so in his case, he had low phenolphthalein levels. He also he had elevated levels of tyramine and dopamine. So that's interesting. He had high dopamine levels. You would think he would have low because he has ADHD, but it's not always the case. This is why he was feeling a little bit more stressed, with his medication. And so, when we decided to focus on really what was really important was adding something like DL-phenylalanine to help improve his PA levels, as well as helping improve his low norepinephrine and epinephrine levels. So adding something like L-theanine that really helped with that. And then he also had high tryptamine and tyramine levels. And this has a lot to do with usually with digestion. So remember, he had irritable bowel syndrome. He had digestive issues. This is why it's so critical to not just think of just the brain and not just think of just the ADHD symptoms, but what are all the other health things, especially for adults, that are issues. because this does contribute into your ADHD health significantly. And it's something that a lot of doctors don't address, but it's so vital because when you're addressing the body as a whole and looking at everything, the whole body is connected. And when you are addressing that, you will get better results by doing so. And sure enough, when we decided to address on the gut health situations, and of course supplementing the things that were out of balance, such as adding the d-alpha-phenylalanine, adding L-theanine and rhodiola to help support the low norepinephrine epinephrine levels, and also the elevated dopamine levels, which would help bring those kind of down to a nice healthy balance. Those were the things that were really important. Okay. And sure enough, the other things that also, as I was working with him, is definitely remember using food as your medicine. So for him, because he had some like imbalances going, especially with his PA levels, it's important to do a high, good amounts of proteins, of healthy proteins and healthy fats, as well as vegetables. So when I put him on those different foods for a long period of time, we were able to actually really get him off the supplements as well. And then he found that he was still fine. He still got the results even without the supplements over time because now he changed how he was eating. He also was changing basically his lifestyle. He got eliminated a lot of stressors in his life. He improved his relationship with his spouse. So these were all really important things that you're tackling at one at a time. But then you find that you don't have to rely on the supplements. And that's how you really eliminate ADHD symptoms. You start with investigation. And once you actually investigated what's the problem, then you could use supplements temporarily. You just do it to get your biochemistry back to balance. And then you're also at the same time transitioning using food as medicine, as well as implementing the right lifestyle changes that you need to implement. And so, honestly, he's much better where he was. He's able to focus better. He's actually not reliant on his medications anymore, which is great, and not reliant on the supplements anymore. He's actually, his whole treatment now is really reliant on using food as his medicine and always making sure that his lifestyle is doing what he needs to do to keep his ADHD health in check. So honestly, if you are, someone that also want to find, the same kind of results and want to find this information about yourself of what is wrong with you, like what's the root cause and issues that you're dealing with your own ADHD, or even if you don't know you have ADHD and you're just figuring out why you can't focus and be productive, the first step is really, it really does require investigation. You got to understand what is going on first. What is the root cause? Why can't I focus? Why can't I be productive? Why do I have low energy? Why do I have all these other health issues? Why do I have anxiety? Why do I have depression? It really does require first doing further investigation through extensive lab testing. And so I'd love to help you out. And, for my journey, obviously you don't need to go to medical school. Like, for going to medical school, like that's what I had to do and continuing education, you'll spend over $500,000. You don't need to do that. It isn't required, but that's what I had to do to figure this out. And I've already done that for you. I've already done the heavy lifting. But most people don't realize this. When you don't have your ADHD treated correctly, they've seen research that we spend over $1 million in our lifetime because of poor decisions makings, losing jobs, not being productive and efficient because we don't treat our ADHD correctly. So I don't want you to go through your life and having all these wasted opportunities because you didn't treat your ADHD correctly. But really what I'm offering you is to book a one-on-one with me. And so this is a 45-minute one-on-one strategy session with me where we actually really dive in deep to help you really understand why you have the challenges and create an action plan, a very customized action plan to help you with your ADHD health. It also includes a very thorough focused mindset questionnaire that you will fill out before, so I can look at that before so I know how to create that action plan for you. And so those are, normally it's a $750 value with a booking appointment with me for 45 minutes. And also, if you do book today, I do also give you access to um, our health course, our HG health course. That's $297 value. And so the full value is $1,244, but you get it all today for just $197. All you got to do is click on the link in the description below. Once you've clicked the link in the description below, then it'll take you here to purchase. Once you've purchased, then you will book your time, your date and time. I have morning, afternoon, late afternoons, evening, depending on your time zone. You can always email me too if for some reason you can't find a time that works. I could always make something try to work. But I have plenty of times for you. And then you'll fill out your information. Then it'll take you to this landing page. It's very, very important. Once you booked your appointment, this landing page, you got to understand that make sure you got your confirmation appointment. Then you also have a second email that is from our Practice Better. That's our client portal. That's how I actually communicate with my patients and clients. That's how you fill out the important client questionnaire. that's very thorough, as well as if you have any past labs in the past year, just standard labs, go ahead and upload those so I can look at those, before appointment, and you do that and practice better. And then make sure you show up on time. Block out 45 minutes to an hour because sometimes we'll go an hour. You have more additional questions. So just make sure to block out a full hour and show up early to be able to jump on so we can really take the action. So if you really are serious and really want to really need help with your ADHD and really want my help to create an action plan for you so that you don't have to be wondering why you're having these issues and why you can't figure out, then just click on the link description below to book that consultation to get that discount. And thank you guys so much for attending, and I'll see you guys all in the next live stream. Thanks. Bye.